The difference between this week's sermon and last week's is this one has a point. Just so you know. Just don't want to get your hopes up or anything, but this one has a point. Been thinking a lot about what we say, words that we throw away, right? In our modern age, we have a lot of catchphrases that we use. And, like I said a couple of weeks ago, people say, "How are you?" And we say, "I'm fine," and we don't mean either. Right? Really, we didn't ask with intention, we don't offer with intention. Right? It's just a passing kind of comment. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about that kind of stuff. And it's interesting, I put the sermon title for God Mess You, and everybody that has some contact with me has had a different interpretation of what they think I mean by that. So we'll see how that comes out as it goes on. So when the scripture was read this morning from the Good News Bible, right, which is a paraphrase Bible. So the same passage from the Message, which is another paraphrase Bible, is this. So while Beth was reading, I don't know how much of it you took in, but here's the same passage from another Bible. All right, so I'm going to read it for you. "And don't say things you don't mean. The counsel is embedded deep in our traditions. You only make things worse when you lay down a smoke screen of pious talk saying, 'I'll pray for you,' and never doing it, or saying, 'God be with you,' and not meaning it. You don't make your words true by embellishing them with religious lace. In making your speech more religious, it becomes less true. Just say yes and no. When you manipulate words to get your own way, you go wrong." Does that sound anything like what Beth read this morning? It doesn't, does it? Huh? So you see that interesting interplay in translation? Right? So this is modern. The Good News used to be the New Bible when I was a teenager. Right? So that's a while ago. Right? Now this is the New Bible. This one. I kind of like this. I like the don't say things you don't mean. Right? Because I think sometimes we need to be reminded about what we say. This is my favorite, this next one here. Right? Like, how many times does somebody say that to you, and you're like, "I think I should just take this product back because it's probably going to burst into flames." Right? "Thank you. Have a nice day." Right? The sincerity dripping out of that is so wrong and egregious, right? That you're thinking that person has practiced how to say that because they have to. Like those greeters at Walmart. I know they're hoping I'm going to fall in the parking lot. I know they are, right? I know when I walk out that door, they're like, "Yeah, I don't trust you." There's something about that has become so ubiquitous in our culture, hasn't it? What does "have a nice day" mean? Does that come out of your, when you say to somebody, "Have a nice day," do you visualize what that nice day might be for them? No problems. Do you really think that, though? I don't. Huh? Do you? You wish them well. Well, good for you guys. Yes. Move this way, Jim. Good. I'm glad to hear that, because I don't believe it. No, I believe you guys do. But we have a quick culture now, right? You notice I don't know, for those of you who use the computer a lot, if you use Gmail, I'm not sure what other email, but Gmail now has made it so that if I get an email from somebody, Gmail reads my email and provides me with automatic responses that I don't have to think about. Right? You've got that, right? So, what? You get them from me, right? Exactly. So like if somebody writes me and says, is Friday the 14th good for you? At the bottom, before I even reply, Google has put down, "Yeah, it's great. No, it's not. Maybe." I don't even have to write anything. I just have to click on it and it goes. Right? Which can be dangerous if you're like me and you don't read very well. Right? But it's the idea that we don't even want to think, and it makes it kind of vernacular, like it's not, "Yes, that would be an appropriate time." It's like, "Yeah, that's great." So it really sounds like me talking, right? But it reads my emails and answers for me. Because I'm so busy and important. I don't have the time, right? We live in that culture where we don't need to think anymore. Right? Or we're not encouraged to think, right? We're not encouraged to think. So this is an interesting one. I find this. We talked about this in study group this week. So somebody sneezes, right? What do people say? Okay, they say one of two things, right? They say one of three things. They say, God bless you, or just bless you, or Gesundheit, right? Now, Gesundheit and God bless you don't mean the same thing, right? What if you were to bless someone? Now, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. So if you say God bless you when somebody sneezes, is that the only time you ever God bless someone? Do you God bless people at other times? Not usually. Some of you do. Not many of you, though, right? No. Not a normal thing that you would say. Right? I had a guy in military school. He was a Ukrainian priest. And he insisted on blessing everybody all the time. It used to really irritate me. Like we were colleagues. But no matter what happened, if you held the door open for him, he'd go, bless you. You helped him with his bag up the stairs. He wasn't a very big guy. Bless you. I finally told him, stop blessing me. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't want your blessing. Right? Because it didn't feel authentic. It kind of felt patriarchal. Right? It was just weird. I just didn't like it. But that's me. I'm fussy. You know that, right? So what does Gesundheit mean, though? That's different. Gesundheit means get the spirits out. Because it comes from tradition that when you sneezed, there were evil spirits in you. And that was the evil spirits being forced out. So when you say to people, God bless you, what you're doing is saying, stay away from me. You're sick. Right? That comes from the plague. Because when people started to sneeze and cough, they were contagious. You see what I mean? But now it's just an automatic, God bless you. Now, there's another problem in the New Age with the Gesundheitigen thing. Right? Agnostic. A guy who, when you sneeze, shrugs and says whatever. And believe you not, again, like the opening the door for people thing we discussed a couple of weeks ago, there's a whole thing on the internet about people not wanting you to say God bless. Which just, it seems a bit silly. It almost makes me want to start doing it. Just to see the reaction, right? So what we say, even though it seems silly, comfortable, long-term traditional, matters. I like this one too. Apparently the guy in the big chair is God. God's sneezing and the angel says, bless yourself. I just like the irony of that. So, what do words matter to? And this sort of is a religious question. Do words matter to the speaker or to the hearer? Right? So when you speak, when you say something like God bless you, right? Or if you pray for somebody, which we'll get to later, if you pray for somebody, who do the words matter to more? To the one who's spoken them or to the one who receives them? And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. I'm just asking you as a rhetorical question to think about the power of words. Who do they mean much to? And I thought this was an interesting quote. Be sure to taste your words before you spit them out. Right? Have you ever done that? Do you ever have that expression afterwards that says, ooh, that left a bad taste in my mouth, right? You think, I spoke too quick, right? And then I'm like, Or, ooh, I might have to swallow those words. That's an even worse one, right? Might have to take those back. And I'll give you a couple of examples from my own life of things that I've done that are both uncomfortable and comfortable, but I'm never sure of the intention. So this is one of the things that I've done in my life, which is blessing motorcycles. So when I joined the military, Colleen was there. We went up. I've done it several times, but she was there for one of the events. So at Base Borden, every year in the spring, they line up all the motorcycles, and these are either active military people and their partners, or they're vets, so Afghan vets, so on and so forth. And they line up, and we're not talking 10 motorcycles here, right? We're talking 100, 200. And they line up, and then I bless them, one at a time. So now the really lovely part for anybody who likes motorcycles is the noise is incredibly loud, because they all run their bikes the whole time, which I really like. It's much more exciting than church, right? And of course, anybody who rides a motorcycle never just lets it idle, right? To go 6 inches, and another 6 inches, right? So it's a very lively atmosphere. And as they come up, you bless their bike. You got to be careful not to scratch it, because that creates a whole other problem. And some of the drivers then want to be blessed themselves, right? Now, I have to say, the interesting part is, a lot of these guys are French Canadians, right, who don't go to church, but they want their bikes blessed. Like there's this long-term memory of that being a significant thing, which I found. And I'm a Protestant minister. We're not used to blessing anything, right? Except the food we're going to eat. And that only in the privacy of our homes, right? So this was a whole new experience for me. Now, what was fascinating was people would literally specifically ask me to bless their families, or their safety, or the year ahead. Like they had very specific things that they wanted blessed. So it didn't matter what I said, and it didn't matter what it meant to me. It mattered to them. So even the words weren't that important. What was important was the intention and the moment. It was an amazing experience for me in terms of shifting from my sort of low church Protestant roots into the world of ecclesiastical blessing. Like it really was kind of a fascinating moment for me. So the next one is a bit, and I'm going to swing through this because it gets me emotional. So this is when I was in Germany. So when folks were injured in war, this is the inside of a Globemaster. So those are the big jets. You see them in Canada occasionally when we do some airlifting, heavy lifting. They have 4 big motors. They're not Hercules. They're 3 times as big as a Herc is. So the Americans have a fleet of these that they use as flying hospitals. So this is the inside of one of those flying hospitals. So the troops come back, the injured, and those are stacked 3 high. So each one of those, you see the colors there, 3 orange, 3 green. They're stacked and color-coded according to the severity of their injuries. So if they're life-threatening injuries, they come with their own medical team. And the Americans are very good, because they have the resources and the intention. When somebody's going to die, they know they're not going to make it. They have their own medical team, and they keep them alive until they get back, till their family sees them. So you can imagine the intention around that, all right, because you know these people aren't going to make it. So when I was working there, because the Canadians, we didn't have much to do, I tagged along with the American chaplains who were all kind of burnt out by this point, because they're on a 3-year contract. So every day, one of the American chaplains goes, when this plane comes in, goes to the airport and greets the plane when the patients come off. And they come every day. Sometimes they come 2 or 3 times a day. And I went on call in rotation. So when I was in Germany, I greeted 366 casualties. I was there for 6 months. And I was on call once a week. So think about it in terms of numbers, right? So you go middle of the night or the day or whenever, and they come in 30, somewhere between 25 and 60 casualties a day. And then occasionally you get called in the night if there's something really terrible happens and you go over. So they come in on the plane like this. The plane lands in Ramstein, and then the patients get transferred into these bus ambulances, right? And some days when we're on off duty, we go over and everybody on the base volunteers to lift them off the buses or off the planes, put them on the buses, go to the hospital, and then help them. So that's volunteer duty. That's not paid duty. So everybody, not everybody, but everybody who wants to goes and helps out. So then they go to the hospital. And this is a really kind of a fascinating thing, both tragic and privileged. So when you get there like this, they take off the worst casualties first. So this is obviously a bad casualty because that person, man or woman, has all the equipment on their chest. So that means they're intubated, they probably have some kind of a heart pump going, or have blood circulation. So all the equipment that's keeping them alive is on their chest. And they come off first. So what you do is, these guys on the side, the bearers, pull them off the bus, set them on the table, and then it was the first time we did it was the strangest thing, because I'm used to, in Canada military, we all stand to the side, right? Chaplains or padres, and we just stay over to the side, don't do anything. The Americans aren't like that. When that person comes off and gets put on the ground, all of a sudden, all the soldiers move out of the way. And then the chaplain goes in. And the chaplain's the first person to welcome them to the base. And the whole place goes quiet. So there'll be upwards of 50 attendants outside at emergency, doctors, nurses, critical care staff, and all the bearers, and they all go quiet. Because I was there one day when they were all making noise, and the drill sergeant who runs the thing turned around and told them all to shut up. Like literally dressed everybody down. So it's this fascinating, and then you're expected, as the chaplain, to go over and greet them, which is told you I get upset. Yeah. So this is where I was asking you earlier about words. So what do you say at that point, right? Because you have somebody beside you with a list of who this person is and where they're from and what their name is. And then you look at them, and there's like half of them there, right? And the nurse is always trying to get you to put these blue gloves on, right? And I can't. I put them on the first time. I had to take them back off again because I couldn't figure it out. It didn't feel right. So then you try to find a place to put your hand on them where it's safe, right? And then you try to figure out what to say. So I won't say what I used to say, because that's private between me and them. But you realize at that point, or you hope, that the words you say are heard and felt, because you know they're not going to be recognized. And that experience for me really changed the way I thought about both prayer and about blessing. Because I realized at that point I am simply an intermediary. That's all I am. There's nothing I can say that's going to make it right, good, or bad, but by my presence and my belief, I can make it okay at the moment. And so that experience was life-changing for me. I'm not sure it was for those guys, but at least I knew at that moment they could feel, or I hope they could, what I felt. And don't get me wrong, there were funny moments too. Not everybody that comes off is critical care. There's psych patients who come off as well, who've had some trauma there, and they have completely different responses. The first thing they do when everybody steps away and I walk up to them is they go, "Chaplain, have you got a smoke?" No, I don't. And occasionally I would say to the patients, if I knew they weren't really, distressed badly, I would say, "Welcome to Canada, your flight got diverted." Because I had a Canadian CAD pad on, and that used to make some of the Americans a little tense. And then the other Americans finally would put a U.S. flag on my shoulder so that I wouldn't be able to get away with that. So it was quite an experience. So, if we can switch on, Courtney. So kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. I think that is a faith statement. I think that is part of our faith, if we have strong faith, is we have to believe that as part of our faith. And I liked this one. This is Dr. Seuss, one of my favorite theologians. Be who you be who you are, say what you mean, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. I didn't figure that out until halfway through my ministry. It was really stressful for the first half. The second half has been a lot more pleasant when I figured that piece out. And the last one, in concordance with what the scriptures say, which I think is important, it's the same as God bless you or have a nice day. If you say them, mean them. If you say you're going to pray for somebody, pray for them. I see it on TV all the time. Leaders saying, "Our prayers and thoughts are with you." Well, are they? I'm kind of thinking they don't go home and get down on their knees and pray for that particular family or group. So if you're going to tell somebody that you're going to pray for them, go home and pray for them. Thank you.